In this video, we're going to go through our button click app, which is our second Android project. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to go into our Eclipse subfolder and double click Eclipse to start it. Then we're going to accept our default project. Okay, now at this point you would want to run your virtual device. I've already got one running in the background, as you can see here, ready to go. So it's a good time to start it normally at the start of a project. Next, we want to create our new project. So we're going to go to the File menu, select New Android Application Project. Now we're not going to be terribly inventive. We're going to call this Button Click Count. And for the package name, we're going to go with org.example, and you can see it automatically has come up with button click count. If you recall from the previous application, we decided to use API 16, which is Android 4.1 Jelly Bean as our default, and we're going to use the API 21, which is the Android SDK 5, as both our target SDK and to compile with. We'll click on Next. Now this time we're not going to bother with a custom icon. We looked in the first app on how to customize, but we're just going to use the default one, because you can see here in the top right hand corner, this is the default icon if we don't change anything. So we're just going to go with that. Of course, if you were creating an app to go into the App Store, ultimately you would want to update it, but because we're only testing, we're good to go. In terms of activities, we're going to still start with this blank activity and use that one. Click on Next. And we're going to leave the default names of main activity and the layout name to be activity_main. And click on Finish. Okay, now this brings up an interesting point. Do you remember that we had our previous project? So we've actually now got two projects that are open. And you can see up here, there's button click count. That's our new project. But also down here, there is my first app, which of course was our first app. Now, on the screen here, this can get a little bit confusing because we've got two main activities now. So I just want to point that out, that you can get into difficulties. What I suggest you do is close any projects that you're not working on, because otherwise you could just click on this, and if you weren't particularly paying attention, you could be working on this thinking this is our second app, when in actual fact it's our first app, as you can see there by the package name. So if we go into our new app that we've just created, that's the one with the org.example.buttonClickCount. So it can be something that you can easily run into trouble with. A couple of ways to find out. Firstly, check the title of the window will tell you which app you're working on. That's one good way of doing it. But also hovering with your mouse will also tell you. But with all that said, I think it's a lot easier to close projects and only work on one project at a time. So to close a project, so right click it and go to Close Project. Now you can see, firstly, it's removed the items from the tab bar, but also this has changed. The actual icon has changed to a closed folder. Now if you want to access those again, double click, and you can see they open up again. We've now got the ability to go through and navigate and get access to the source code. So I'm going to right click that again and click on Close. So we know that we're only working on our one project now. We're going to start with a very basic application. We're just going to create a message that pops up when the settings button is clicked. So to do that, if mainActivity.java is on the screen, just double click it, or navigate using the little arrows to main activity and double click it. So you should have that on the screen. And once that's on the screen, double click the mainActivity.java itself in the tab window, at the tab at the top, and it will show the source code on a full screen. So it's just a lot easier to read at that point. Okay, so let's just quickly create a message. So we're going down into a little function here called on options item selected. Now what that means is this code is actually invoked when a tap is made on a particular menu option. It'll all make sense when we go into the program and run it for the first time. So what I'm doing is I'm adding some code here, because by default Eclipse has given you some code to work with, but it doesn't really do anything. So in actual fact, in this first section, it's actually doing a check, and it's saying if the ID of whatever button was clicked is the settings button, then return true. Now what that means is it's going to do nothing. It's just basically saying here it is. Yes, I've confirmed that this is the settings button that was tapped, but then it's not going to do anything. So we're going to go in there. Okay, so let's type in our message. So we're going to type toast message equals toast.make text. And the context it's asking for is this. So in other words, we're executing this code. We're sending it us. We're sending us this actual class. Press tab. We're going to type in a little message that's going to appear on the screen. And we'll try the settings menu item was tapped. And press tab, and we're going to use the default amount of time that Toast indicates a message should go for. So there's length underscore long, that's how many seconds it decides is a long message, and there's a short one. We're going to use the long one just to give us enough time to tab over there if need be to see it. So number one, we've set up the message, but what we haven't yet done is told the system to show the message. So to do that, we can type in toast. Now if we don't want to type the whole thing in all the time, get into the habit of using some of the abbreviations because they really do save you a lot of time when you're programming. So in this case here, if we know we're wanting to type in the whole word toast message, we can press Control space and then press return. And if in the case where there was more than a few things matching that, you can see that Eclipse pops that up on the screen for us and we can select the right one. As you're getting more up to speed with this, you'll be typing in common things sort of time and time again, and it really does make sense to try and shortcut that amount of time where possible. Okay, so toast message dot, you can see Eclipse is coming up and giving some options. Show. We're going to show the view, so we're going to show what we've just the message we've created in the screen. Okay, so at that point we're ready to go. So I'm going to save this project. Now again, I'll save this Java file, I should say. So you can go into File, Save, but also you can press Command S. Can't select that now because it's saved, or it's Control S if you're on a PC. Alright, so at that point I'm going to double click the main activity again and bring back our package. Now I want to just talk about quickly run configurations. So we can click on our project, we can right click it, go to Run As, and we can have a look at what configurations have been set up. Now it's coming up with nothing. Now the reason it's coming up with nothing is we haven't run this before. So what we're going to do is we're going to run it for the first time by clicking the Run button. Now the first time you run it, it's coming up and saying, well, what type of application? How do you want me to run this? We're going to select Android application. Click OK. Now down the bottom right hand corner, it's working away, as you can see. It's launching it. And we'll tab over to our emulator and it should be there. Okay, so we'll go over to there. And just to make sure it's working, we're going to click on the menu, click on settings, and you can see our little message down the bottom was created. Okay, so we'll go back to the source code. Now I just want to show you that run configuration again. Now we've run it once. If we go into Run As and Run Configurations, we've now got a configuration for button click count. And just something I want to show you just briefly before we end and then move on to the next stage of the app. If I open this project again, now if I expand that out and I right click my first app, remember I haven't clicked on our new project but our previous one, Run As, Run Configuration, we're still in button click count. So it's sort of a bit of a check there to make sure you're selecting the right application from the list here. And this is another reason that I like closing other projects I'm not working on, because that way if you close a project like so, when you are going into something like a run configuration that can be valid for more than one app, only the one app, only the projects that are open, in other words, will be shown on the screen. So it just makes it a lot easier and you're less likely to run into difficulties. Alright, well that's the end of this first video. In the next video, we're going to expand our button click count app to add a button.